All right, so welcome all of you. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on wherever you've joined us from today, right? And today we are not, just going to talk about a career path that is data engineering. We'll discuss a fundamental shift, right? How the world operates today, which is driven by one of the most valuable commodities of the 21st century, that is data, right? So you're living in a time of unprecedented data generation, right? From social media posts, we scroll through the online purchases we make, the smart devices that we have installed in our homes, right? To very complex scientific researches as well, right? And the global financial transactions. Data is being created at an exponential rate today, right? And it presents a both, right? A monumental challenge also, and an incredible opportunity as well at the same time, right? The challenge lies in capturing the data, storing the data, processing it, right? And making sense of this vast ocean of information, if you would like to call it, right? And the opportunity lies in extracting valuable insights out of that data, right? That can drive innovation, that can solve complex problems, that can improve decision making, right? And that can help you improve your business model also, right? So this is where, right, a data engineer, comes into the picture and becomes paramount. And I'm pretty sure you would already know what data engineering is and what data engineers do, right? But think of data engineers as the architects, right? And the builders of the digital ages information super highways that they're conducting, right? That they're going to design everything, they're going to construct it, and they're going to maintain the systems, the pipelines, right, that allow data to flow efficiently and reliably from the source to the hands of those who actually need that data, right? Who actually want to make sense of that data, right? Whether it's a data scientist, whether it's a data analyst, whether it's your business leaders, right? Without skilled data engineers, raw data is going to just remain, the raw, undefined, unrefined, and largely unusable data, right? So now, if data engineering is the discipline, right? What's the best toolkit and environment to master it, right? So that brings us to Microsoft Azure, because this is gonna be a Microsoft Azure data engineer course, right? And we all know how rapidly Azure has emerged as a leading cloud platform, right? It has the highest growth rate among all CSPs. It's just I think a couple of or few percentages away from AWS in terms of market share, but it has much higher growth rate than AWS, and it's obviously gonna take over that as well, right? It has rapidly emerged as a leading cloud platform. Now, what Azure is going to help you with is that it's going to give you a comprehensive and powerful set of services. All right. And these services are specifically designed for the demands of modern data engineers. So to choose, right, or choosing to specialize in Azure data engineering today is not just a smart move, right? It's an investment in a future-proof skill set, right, that are incredibly high in demand, right? So why is data engineering crucial? Why data engineering, right? So before we dive deep into Azure itself, try to understand what Azure has to offer, we also need to solidify what data engineering itself, right, is, and why is it so critical. So there are several reasons to it, uh, as you can see on your screen, right? The first thing, the most important, is the unstoppable growth of data that has happened in the recent times, right? As I mentioned, the volume, it's called the 3V problem of the big data, right? So the 3V problem of the big data is the volume, the velocity, and the variety of data that's getting generated today, right? We are generating data in huge volumes. Velocity means the speed of generation, and variety means the different types of data that exists, whether it's structured data or unstructured data or semi-structured data, right? And all of it is exploding. Now, there are several organizations that have predicted that the global data sphere, as we call it, right, will grow to almost around 175 zettabytes by 2025. And managing this scale of data, right, it requires specialized skills, robust infrastructure, right, and a lot of tools which the data engineers can, work on and process this data. Now, businesses across all sectors, whether it's healthcare, whether it's finance, it's retail, manufacturing, entertainment. They all now recognize data as the core strategic asset, right? And data-driven insights uh, are replacing the guesswork. Now people don't want to, think of a theory in their head and then implement it. No, whatever thoughts they have, whatever ideas they have, they need data to actually prove it, right? So there are, better business strategies now. There is better operational efficiency now, and there is better customer experience also, because we are going towards creating solutions which is backed by data. So therefore, it is being highly or adopted by the customers as well, right? So companies are going to use data to create their own products, services, marketing messages, right? Which can be customized to an individual customer's preference as well, right? And analyzing data can uncover new market opportunities, new trends, new product ideas, new service improvements that you can incorporate, right? And from predicting equipment maintenance needs to forecasting market trends, right? Data allows organizations to be proactive rather than to be reactive, right? In today's world, you don't want to be reactive, you want to be proactive, you want to be the market leaders, you want to be somebody, the torch bearers, right? Now we know how quickly artificial intelligence is growing, right? It was considered to be a niche technology until a few, I would say, not few, but until a couple of years ago, AI was considered to be something where, a specific set of, professionals were working as, AI experts. But today, AI, ML, and all those things is incorporated everywhere. It's not a niche technology anymore, right? It's something which is required everywhere. We are creating automated solutions in almost every sector, in almost every department, right? But how good a AI or a machine learning model could be, right? It's only as good as the data that it is trained on. And who's going to give them that data? It's the data engineer's responsibility to provide them with clean, well-structured, and accessible data, right? So data engineers are going to form the critical foundations, right, upon which these data scientists are going to build these intelligent systems. So whether you think that AI is coming in, AI is being used a lot, but again, data engineering is something that is adding value to the AI improvements. All right. It's not something that's going to take your work away. So why should you choose Azure data engineering, right? Why should you choose Azure for your data engineering journey? Now, you need to have, all right, or with a clear understanding of the importance of data engineering, it's also important to understand that Microsoft Azure stands out as a platform of, choice for aspiring and established data engineers. All right. It offers a comprehensive and integrated ecosystem of services, right? Azure offers an extensive portfolio of services that cover every stage of the data lifecycle, whether it is data ingestion, right? That is where your services like Azure Data Factory comes in, that allows you to orchestrate data movement from hundreds of on-premises and cloud sources, right? You have Azure Event Hubs, you have Azure IoT Hubs that are designed for real-time streaming data ingestion, right? From various applications or IoT based devices. You have various data storage services such as Azure Blob Storage and Azure Data Lake, right? So Data Lake is one of those services which is highly scalable and highly secure, right? That is built on top of Blob Storage. So we need these services, right? Uh, for our big data analytics workload, right? Uh, we have data processing services, right? And that is where Azure actually shines, right? The data processing services, whether it's batch processing or stream processing, Azure has a service for everything. All right. You have something called Azure Synapse Analytics, right? It's an evolution of Azure SQL Data Warehouse. Earlier, we used to call it SQL Data Warehouse, but now we use an umbrella term of Synapse, and we have various services, individual services within Synapse, right? So it's a limitless analytical service, right? That brings together enterprise data warehousing, big data analytics. It allows you to query data, using either a serverless on-demand pool or a provisioned resource. We'll try to understand that. And at scale, it integrates with Apache Spark, right, to process your data using the Spark architecture. right? You have Azure Databricks. That is also something that we're going to cover in the course, which is an Apache Spark based analytical platform optimized for Azure, right? It provides a collaborative environment for data engineers and data scientists to build and run big data and machine learning workloads. All right. Databricks is known for its performance and ease of use. It's just, adds value to Apache Spark. It adds a lot of other features to Apache Spark and makes it much better, right? The core or the heart of Databricks is Apache Spark itself, right? You have several data orchestration and management services also, like Azure Data Factory that we are going to cover, right? That is not just for ingestion. Azure Data Factory is not just a data movement tool, right? It's a powerful ELT, or ETL tool. All right. It can create your pipeline, you can schedule your pipelines, you can manage your data pipelines, you can do transformation of data using Data Factory, and then you can, govern this data using Azure Purview, which is a unified data governance service that helps you to manage and govern your data, whether it is present in your on-premises environment, that is your, private cloud, or if you are using a multi-cloud solution as well, right? So it's a software as a service uh, offering, right? Then you have stream analytics service that can process your streaming data in real time. Within Databricks also we have option to process the streaming data. So whether it is batch processing or stream processing, Azure has you covered with everything. There is a service for everything that you want to do with data, right? But then why Azure? Right? I will get similar services anywhere else, right? If I want to use Spark, why should I use it on Azure? Right? I can use it somewhere else. Now, the reason is that Azure gives you unmatched scalability and elasticity, right? It gives you a lot of other benefits to work with the data, right? Not just the tools. There are several benefits of using a cloud, service provider in this case. The first thing, the most important one is the availability of cloud. All right. Cloud services are highly available. All right, it gives you a guarantee of almost 99.99% of uptime. That means, in a month, right? If you consider a month to be of 30 days and you calculate the total number of hours by multiplying 30 by 24 and you calculate the total number of, minutes also in a month, then out of those total minutes, Azure is going to give you a guarantee, right? And it's a written guarantee. It's not, a marketing gimmick that they're using, right? It's a guarantee, it's an SLA, it's a service level agreement with the customer. And the agreement is that if your application is not running 99.90 or 99.95 or 99.99, now I'm using multiple values here because the SLA varies. All right, depending on the configuration that you're going to do, the SLA varies, the guarantee varies. So if I make it, foolproof, then they'll give me 99.99% availability, also saying that we are guaranteeing you that your application will be up and running for 99.99% of the time. All right. If that goes below 99.99% of the time, we are going to refund you your entire money that you have spent on that resource in the entire month, right? So let's say if you spend $1,000 on that resource, Azure is going to refund all of it to you. All right. So in general, cloud platforms are built for scale. All right. And Azure excels here. You can scale your storage, you can scale your compute resources. So compute resource term, right? Compute is something that involves CPU along with RAM. So anything that has processing power of a CPU and a memory, we call it a compute service. For example, a virtual machine, right? A virtual machine will have certain amount of CPU, certain amount of RAM. That is why it comes under the category of a compute machine. All right. So whether it is compute, whether it is storage, you can scale them up or down based on the demand. All right. And it's not just manual scaling, it gives you an option for automatic scaling also. That is elasticity, meaning that you are going to pay for only what you use. All right. For example, Azure storage account. Now, when I'm creating an Azure storage account, I don't predefine a size for it. I'm not going to say, give me 2 terabytes of storage. No, That is not how it works. It depends on how much data I have uploaded. If I only uploaded 100 MBs of data, I'll be charged for 100 MBs of data. If I uploaded 2 terabytes of data, I'll be charged for 2 terabytes of data. So that is how it works. You only pay for what you use, right? That makes it a very cost-effective, solution for both, even if it's a small project or if it's a massive enterprise workload. All right. And if you want to process, let's say, petabytes of data, Azure can handle it, right? And let's say you want to scale down after you already processed it, let's say off peak hours to save the cost. That is a solution which is built in. All right. And then Azure seamlessly integrates with almost every other services. All right. Azure services are designed to work together harmoniously. All right. They will have some harmony in between, and data can flow smoothly from an ingestion service to the storage service, then from a storage service to a processing engine, and from a processing engine to a data warehouse, right? And you don't have to, do a lot of configurations here. They can, talk to each other, they can interconnect, and they can, move the data within themselves, right, from one service to the other with ease. And then Azure also integrates deeply with the Microsoft products like M365, Dynamics 365, Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI. That creates a very unified ecosystem and a very powerful ecosystem as well, right? And this is a significant advantage for organizations that have already invested in Microsoft stack. And we know today that most of the organizations are invested in the Microsoft stack, right? Microsoft is working, along with a lot of organization. Most of your, organizations today are using Microsoft products, right? Then data security also comes into the picture. Azure offers you, a robust security and compliance mechanism because security is non-negotiable, right? And Azure provides a multi-layered security across physical data centers, right? Across the infrastructure and across all the operations as well. It offers a wide range of security tools. You have identity and access management through something called as Azure Active Directory, now called Microsoft Entra ID, right? You have network security groups, you have encryption at rest, encryption in transit, threat detection through Azure Defender, right? And many more, right? Uh, for compliance and all, it uses Microsoft Purview. And on top of that, you have something called as a pay as you go model, which means I only pay for the amount of services that I use for the duration that I use them for. So if I created a virtual machine and I only use it for 5 hours, I have to pay only for 5 hours, right? So most of the services that you find on Azure, they'll have an hourly cost associated with them, right? So depending on the number of hours you're going to use those services for, those services will be, charged. And then there is a continuous innovation happening with Microsoft. There's future proofing happening with Microsoft. Microsoft itself is going to pour billions into research and development of for Azure, right? And the platform is constantly evolving with new services, new features, performance improvements. And by specializing in Azure, you are going to align yourself, right, with a platform that is at the forefront of technological innovation, right? Ensuring your skills remain relevant and valuable throughout. It's not a niche category. All right. So what is going to be your role as a data engineer? As an Azure data engineer, right? You are going to be responsible for a wide array of tasks. All right. You will be designing and implementing data solutions. You will that will involve, understanding business requirements and architecting data storage, processing, um, analysis solutions of, using Azure services, building and maintaining data pipelines. You are going to use Azure Data Factory or Azure Synapse or Databricks to create these automated ETL pipelines, right? You are going to be responsible for ensuring data quality and reliability. You have to implement processes to clean the data, validate it, and then monitor the data to ensure the accuracy and the trustworthiness of that data, right? And then you are also going to optimize data storage and processing. You're going to choose the right storage solution, whether it's going to be a data lake, whether it's going to be a blob storage, or should I put my data in a SQL database, right? And which processing engine should I use? Whether I should use Synapse, should I use Databricks, right? For performance and cost efficiency, you'll understand, right? You have to do monitoring, you have to do troubleshooting, and you have to collaborate, right? You have to work closely with data scientists, with data analysts, with software engineers and business stakeholders, right, to understand their data needs and to deliver effective solutions to them, right? So when you're working and when you're going to go through this course, there are several skills that you're going to develop as an Azure data engineer. All right. You're going to get proficient in Azure data services. You'll have deep knowledge and deep understanding of services like Azure Data Factory, Azure Synapse Analytics, Azure Databricks, Azure Stream Analytics, Azure Data Lake, Event Hubs, all those services. All right. You'll understand how to design data models for analytical workload, right? And the principles of data warehousing. You will understand ETL development, right? Or ELT development. You're going to get become experts in designing and implementing data extractions, transformations, and the loading process. You're going to work with, languages like SQL and Python. All right. And you're going to use frameworks like Spark. All right. Now, Python, uh, is something that we'll do in the class, assuming that most of you do not understand what Python is. But SQL is a prerequisite. All right. SQL is something that I want all of you to be familiar with and to be experts in, right? It's not a long journey to become an expert in SQL. It's a fairly short journey, right? And you can become better in SQL with a lot of practice. So SQL is a prerequisite, right? Python for this course is something that we are going to cover from scratch. All right. But then again, uh, you have to do Python on your own as well, right? You have to become proficient in Python. If I tell you that amongst all the data engineering job postings online, what is the top demand? Almost 70% of them contain Python or PySpark as a keyword. All right. Similar, 70% of them will also contain SQL, right? Anybody who has written Python will also write SQL. So 70% for both of them, right? You have to, you'll be understanding big data technologies. We'll talk about Apache Spark. You'll understand Apache Spark framework, right? We'll talk about Hadoop also. We'll understand what and how Hadoop used to work and why it did not, what were the shortcomings of the Hadoop infrastructure. You're going to understand data governance. You're going to understand data security, right? And the career, right? Or the career outlook for the Azure data engineers is exceptionally bright, right? There is a high demand across industries. First of all, virtually every industry needs a data engineer, whether it's a finance industry, healthcare industry, retail, manufacturing. The opportunities are vast and the opportunities are present everywhere. All right. And there are several roles also, right? You will find data engineer, big data engineer, cloud data engineer, Azure data engineer, right? So various roles exist. And there's a significant growth potential as well, right? You can progress to senior engineering roles, lead data engineer teams, right? And specialize further into roles like data architects there. And these opportunities are, global opportunities. These skills are globally recognized, right? So that will open doors to work in different locations, different countries, different multinational corporations for you. Now, now that you have a brief understanding of what data engineering is, right? Let us also try and understand what this course is going to be all about, right? So in this course, that is the Azure Data Engineering, uh, we'll have almost more than 35 days classes, right? Now, when I say 35 plus, it can go until 40, up to 40 also, right? So 40 classes, almost more or less, around 40 itself. So total 45 plus hours of lecture, right? The classes will start at 8 p.m. IST to 9 p.m. IST. All right. But generally, we extend till 9, 10, 9:50. We are going to give you hands-on labs, right? Labs as in, we'll tell you how to create the Azure free account, right? So you have Azure free account that you can utilize and work with Azure-based services. Now, this free account will give you $200 of credit, which will be valid for 30 days. All right. And that is more than sufficient for you to practice everything that we are going to cover in this course. All right. So we'll support you, we'll guide you as to how you can, perform the hands-on labs. I'll be giving you the documents, the lab documents that you'll be following. All right. For every service, we have different scenarios and we'll be working with those different scenarios and you'll be implementing them in the real life. All right. It's not just theory, it's not just demonstration. The course, will ask you to practice everything that we do in the class on your own as well, right? Not just the things we do in the class, but more. All right. You will be given challenges, you will be given problem statements, and you will have to create a solution for it. All right. Whether it's writing, creating your warehouse and then moving your data from the data lake to a warehouse, right? So various scenarios, I'll share them with you, right? Towards the end of the course, we'll have two hands-on projects to be implemented, right? One of them will focus more on Azure-based services only. The other one will work on, mostly Azure-based services. How do they connect and work with Databricks? All right, so that will be a project on integration of Databricks with Azure-based services. For each topic, you will receive a PDF learning content document, right? Which will, cover all the topics for your reference, for your revision, for your learning, right? We'll share interview asked questions from each section, and mostly interview based questions we discussed in the class itself. The moment a topic comes, I'll let you know what type of questions could you expect from this particular topic, right? What do interviewers like to ask? And then we'll share some sample resumes also with you that you can use, right? So we'll take more questions on this from you towards the end of the session. We'll just continue with the demonstration first. Now, the course has 8 sections in total. All right, these are the 8 sections. Now, apart from these 8 sections, we have to cover a lot of other things also. Let me be very honest. Uh, if you're saying we want to study, Synapse, then we'll also have to, or Azure fundamentals or other topics. Then you also need to understand identity and access management. You need to understand Enter ID. You need to understand what is service principal, what is the managed identity. So those things also will integrate. What is a keyword, right? So assuming that most of you have absolutely no background when it comes to Azure. All right. So this course is created with an assumption that most of you present here today, right? And I'll not use the word most, but let's say all of you present here in this call today, you have absolutely zero idea about Azure. All right. You have never ever heard of it. You don't know what cloud computing is. That is the level where we are going to get started from. If you are new to cloud computing, this is the course to go for. All right. We'll start from the very basics. What is cloud computing? What are different cloud models? Right? What is private cloud? What is public cloud? What is a hybrid cloud? What is the difference between the three? What is the cost difference between the three? Right? What is the security difference between the three? Then we'll talk about what is, different cloud services. What is infrastructure as a service? What is software as a service? What is platform as a service? Right? Then trying to understand the architecture of Azure. How is Azure built? What is the main components of Azure? And that is where, we are not just going to work with these services. We are going to see in action what is, Azure storage account, what is an Azure virtual machine, how does networking work in Azure? Because when you're going to work with Synapse or Data Factory or Databricks, right? For example, Data Factory requires you to set up something called as a self-hosted integration runtime. Now, for that, you will have to create a virtual machine when you're practicing. If you don't want to do it on your own machine, you'll create a virtual machine. If I don't tell you what a virtual machine is, how you're going to create it, how you're going to access it, you're not going to be able to do anything with that. Correct? So we are going to go to a point where you having absolutely zero idea about what Azure is, you'll reach a point within the first week or a first 1.5 weeks of time, and you'll start thinking about Azure. All right. When I say start thinking about Azure, if I tell you that something has to be done, it will be in your mind as to how it is going to be done. That is the level of clarity that you're going to gain on the Azure platform. My eventual goal would be towards the end of the session to make you understand the data engineering concepts, right? And assuming that most of you are already from the data engineering background, right? Even if not from the background, but then you will be able to understand that, right? What are the roles and responsibilities? But you should understand the platform first where I'm working, right? That is very important. The features of the platform, right? You could be a very good driver, But until and unless you understand your vehicle, right, it's never going to work out. So you need to be experts in Azure, and that is what we are going to cover. You will do Azure fundamentals. You will do Azure data fundamentals also. We'll see each and every data services in Azure. We'll see what is, how do you create a SQL database in Azure? How do you create a NoSQL database in Azure? How do you create a Cosmos DB in Azure? What is Cosmos DB, by the way? That also we'll cover. What are the different storage solutions in Azure? Right? What are the, at a basic level, what are the different data processing solutions available in Azure? Once we are done with that, once we are, fully aware of what a data lake service is, what it means, how it works, how you create it, how do you give access to others, then we are going to go into the first core service, that is going to be my Azure Synapse Analytics. All right. Synapse Analytics is an umbrella term. All right. There is a service that you're going to create called Synapse, but within Synapse, you have multiple options. All right. There is an option to create something called as a serverless SQL pool. There is an option to create something called as a dedicated SQL pool. And there is something called as an Apache Spark pool. Now, all of them would look like, Indian police ranks to you, SSP, DSP, ASP, but that is how they've named it, right? So, serverless SQL pool, data exploration. Dedicated SQL pool is the actual data warehouse. This is the data warehousing service in Azure. All right. So if I want to create a data warehouse in Azure, I will create a Synapse Analytics resource, and within that, I'll create a dedicated SQL pool. Then we have Apache Spark pool that utilizes the Spark architecture or the Spark infrastructure to process the data, right? In serverless SQL pool and dedicated SQL pool, we'll be querying our data, or we'll be working with our data using SQL. All right. That is why they're called as SQL pools. Within Spark, all right, or Apache Spark pool, you are going to use various languages. You can use PySpark, right? You can use Scala, you can use SQL, you can use R, you can use Java, right? Because Spark, uh, works with almost all of these programming languages that I just discussed. Once we are done with that, we'll start with Azure Data Factory. All right. Once we are done with Synapse, we've created warehouses, we've created tables, we've seen the fact tables, the dimension tables, the star schema, the snowflake schema, everything once we have covered, we move towards Data Factory. All right. And within Synapse, we also have Synapse pipelines. That is also something that we are going to cover, right? Then we move to Data Factory. Within Data Factory, we'll first of all see how data orchestration, data movement works, right? How do you move data using pipelines from one place to the other? We'll see a very important concept of something known as mapping data flows. All right. So that is one of the most demanded or most, crucial uh, thing to understand within the data factory. All right. Or technology to understand within Azure Data Factory, that is mapping data flows. That we'll understand. Then we'll see how do you create your own integration runtime. What is an integration runtime? We don't know as of now. Right? But in short, integration runtime is the compute infrastructure that is provisioned to process your data. Then we'll set up our own compute infrastructure. We'll set up our own integration runtime called the self-hosted integration runtime. Then with Synapse and Data Factory, we'll integrate it with source control tools like GitHub and like Azure. You have Azure repositories, right? Azure repository that we are going to use. So we'll integrate it with that. We'll see how you create branches, how you create a pull request, how you merge your code together. All of that we'll see. Merge your branches together. So all of that we'll see. Then we'll move to stream analytics. Now to study stream analytics, first of all, I need to understand a data streaming service, right? Which service am I going to use as a data stream service? I'll use Event Hub. So first we'll understand what is Event Hub. Then we'll see how we can, using Event Hubs, transform my data, right, in real time. All right. So once we are done with Synapse, all the SQL pools, once we are done with Data Factory, where we'll see, creation of pipelines, creation of mapping data flows, we'll see incremental data loading, right, in various ways, whether it is from a storage account or whether it's in a database, we'll see both of them. Then we'll see, once we are done with these core technologies, we'll start with Python and PySpark. All right. Now this is where I will give you a brief introduction. A few classes we'll spend on Python, trying to understand what the language is, right? How the basic functionalities work, what are the different data collections available in Python, right? For example, a list, a tuple, a set, a dictionary, what are they, right? Because the list is going to be used in your Spark coding, right? PySpark coding. Then I will make you understand the architecture of Apache Spark. We're going to go into very depth of understanding what is Spark, what is Apache Spark, what is this Spark, and that is where we'll cover the Spark pool in Synapse also. So as I told you, in Synapse we have an Apache Spark pool, right? So I don't have to start it here itself within Spark when we are doing Synapse, right? Because towards the end we have an entire section that is totally related with this, right? So Azure Synapse Analytics, within Azure Synapse Analytics, right? We have the Apache Spark pool that we'll cover here itself towards the end, right? So we'll understand how Spark is built, right, or the architecture of it. We'll try to understand the driver node, the worker node, the executor program, right? The driver program, what is the resource, managers present, what is yarn, right? All those things we'll try to understand how it works, how the data transformation works, what is distributed computing. All together we'll understand here, right? Once we have an understanding of the Spark architecture, once we have an understanding of PySpark, we'll start with Databricks. All right. Within Databricks, we'll see a lot of things. First of all, how do you create a Databricks environment, right? Then how do you create a compute within the Databricks environment? How do you create your compute? How do you, manage your compute within Databricks environment? Then we are going to see, within uh, Databricks, right? Various programs, all right? And we are going to code it live in the class. We are going to see different ways of reading the data, different ways of writing the data. We'll try to understand the difference between two things. One is the data frames and the other one is the table within Spark. What is a data frame? What is a table, right? What is a data frame API? What is the table API? All of that we'll try to understand here. We'll also focus on low-level APIs like RDDs. We'll have a brief discussion on RDDs and we'll see how you're going to create them, right? Once we are done with that, we'll see how do you connect to your storage account from Databricks, right? We'll see how you use access keys to do that, how you use shared access signatures to do that, how do you mount your container on top of Databricks file system, that is DBFS. We'll also understand obviously what is Databricks file system itself, right? And then we have a lot of other topics also, right? For example, the medallion architecture, we'll try to understand how to move data between different layers, the bronze layer to silver layer to gold layer, right? And in gold layer, you have your data ready for analysis and transformation. So why do we have that medallion architecture? What is the Unity catalog, right? Why is it used? What are the benefits of using the Unity catalog, right? All of those things. What is a, how do you create pipelines, delta live tables within Databricks? That also we'll see. All right. So that once we are done, there is another section called section 9. It is not mentioned here, right? This is going to talk completely about security and governance. So this section, we are going to spend completely, our times and resources on how do I ensure security of my data? What are the various ways, right? To governance. How do I govern my data? How do I monitor my data? How do I manage my data? All of that will cover. All right. So to briefly explain you, right, let's take a look at a case study, right? That is for Netflix, right? Now we've all watched a lot of movies on Netflix. I'm pretty sure most of you would have done that. And Netflix is a giant, video store with millions of movies and shows available online. But there were, big problems with Netflix at a given point, right? There are too many choices for the users and too little time to search for something, right? There's a big challenge here. And that is where, Netflix saw its shares going down as well, right? People were not renewing their subscription. Why? Because people were not able to find something useful. They were not being given suggestions that they would love, all right, or a movie that they would like, or a show that they would like. So finding a good show was hard. With so many options available, it was like trying to find, your favorite candy in a massive supermarket without any signs. Right? I said candy, but it could be anything, right? Your favorite item in a big market without any signs or boards, right? People would get tired of looking, and might just leave, cancel their subscription eventually. And one thing is for sure that everybody has their own likings and dislikings. Everybody has a different taste, right? And Netflix needed to figure out what a particular person would like, what your friends would like, right? And what your the other millions of people with the Netflix subscription would like, right? They just couldn't show, everyone the same stuff based on the on my, likings. They had to curate a list for me, right? And if your show kept stopping to load or buffering, right, or looked fuzzy, you'd get frustrated. And Netflix needed to make sure that the shows, played smoothly for everyone, no matter the internet or the devices that they're watching on, right? So basically, Netflix needed to stop people from getting bored or annoyed and canceling their subscriptions, right? So what did they do? They got, the data engineers came to the rescue. And think of, data engineers as super organized librarians, all right, and also clever detectives for information, right? You know what they did? They started gathering data. Every time I watched something on Netflix, every time I rated a show, every time I liked a show, every time I searched for a title, right? Every time I paused, Netflix was collecting all of this data. All right. They built a system to carefully note everything down. All right. They also collected information on how well, the shows were streaming. Was it buffering? What was the device that you were using? And then, they started storing and preparing the data. All the clues, all the data was stored in giant digital warehouses, and the data engineers cleaned this data, organized this information, made it easy to understand and use. Right? It's like sorting, all the books in the library. Let's say if I put it all down together, right? You have to sort it down one by one and then place them in a perfect, location. And then what they did was they created a recommendation engine. And this is the most famous part. Data engineers build the system that powered, those top picks for you, right? Or because you watch this, you may also like this. Those types of suggestions you started getting, right? And they used all the collection clues to guess what this particular user would like to watch next, right? It's like somebody knowing your taste, right? And then cooking for you. If I know your taste and I'm cooking for you, I'm bound to, create something or make something that you would like. If I don't know your taste, if I don't understand what you like to eat, what you don't like to eat, what kind of food you prefer, right? How much spice do you prefer? If I don't know all of that, I may not be able to, make a good dish for you. So they use data about streaming platforms problems also to automatically adjust video quality. If the internet was slow, it might lower the picture quality a bit, right? So the show wouldn't stop for you, and stop and start. Then by looking at what types of shows, what actors you watch regularly, what type of stories you like, what genre of the movies you like, right? Data engineers help Netflix to decide which new movie or series to spend money on, right? It was not just a recommendation system. Overall, also, what type of movie should create, right? Or what type of show should I create? And that resulted in a very happy ending. More people stayed with Netflix because of this smart data, right? The smart data work by the engineers. People found shows that they loved, right? It became much easier to find something good to watch on Netflix. No more endless scrolling, right? And that made people, happier with Netflix, right? Because happy customers don't cancel their subscriptions. All right. And there were fewer glitches. There were more hit shows by Netflix. Netflix got, better at making and buying shows that lots of people enjoyed, right? And Netflix obviously kept getting better because they were always learning from the data. So that is, data engineering working in real time. Now, you may also have questions about what is the scope for data engineering today, right? So if you look at the data engineering skills, right? So this is a survey online, the state of data engineering, in India also and globally also. If you look closely here, SQL is the most demanded skill with almost 80% requirement, right? 80% job postings today online, right? And currently, across all major hiring platforms, there are almost around 60,000 job postings with data engineering as a keyword. All right. So they have SQL in common. Almost 75% of them have Azure. All right. They have ETL written there. They have Apache Spark written there. They have data lake written there, data modeling, Hadoop, Kafka, data pipelines, NoSQL, Snowflake, Docker, all these different tools are there, right? But if you look at the top three or four, right, that most of the openings will have, that is SQL, Azure, ETL, Spark. And that is something that we are going to cover in depth. All right. Now, the programming languages that they ask for in data engineering roles is, you can see 80% almost asked for SQL, right? So 8 out of 10 job openings will ask you to know SQL, and almost 7 of them will ask you to, understand and know Python, right? How it works, right? So that is what you need to understand, right? So in India, especially, being a data engineer right now is like being a rock star, all right, of the tech world right now. It's a hugely important and popular job, right? And why is it so hot in India right now? Because data is everywhere. All right. Indian businesses, whether big or small, are realizing that data is like a treasure chest. It holds clues to help them understand customers in a better way, in an improved way, right? And then improve their products as well and find new opportunities, right? Think about AI. We discussed that already. That suggests movies to you, or think of machine learning that helps banks to detect fraud transactions. Data engineers build the essential groundwork that makes all of this advanced technology possible. All right. And digital India is booming, right? As more Indians go online, use digital payments, use social media, interact with multiple applications, more data is getting created every day. And this digital India wave, directly fuels the need for data engineers. Simply put, the more data we create and want to use, the more we desperately need skilled data engineers to manage it. All right. And if you want to know the numbers, right, the data engineering market in India, it's massive and it's growing at a lightning speed. All right. The most recent study, showed that data engineering market in India was already, worth more than around 20 billion US dollars, right? And the number is predicted to explode, growing by almost 38% every year for the next 5 years, right? And it's expected to reach almost more than almost around 100 billions, right, by the next 5 years, right? So who's hiring the most, right? The banking, the insurance sectors are the major employers, hiring almost 38% of data engineers, working in the non-IT fields are in the banking and insurance, right? The BFSI sector, right? So they handle tons of customer and financial data. And the experience level is also, in these openings is not something very staggering, right? Obviously, you'll have, postings where they'll ask for uh, 10 years of experience or 15 years of experience. But the average, they're asking for 2 to 6 years, right? 2 to 6 years, 3 to 6 years of experience, showing a need for both, fresh talent is also there, and there is a need for seasoned professionals also, right? And are there a lot of job opportunities available? Yes, absolutely. Data engineering isn't, just growing. It's one of the fastest growing careers out there. All right. And various vacant positions are there, as I told you, almost 60,000, right? And there's a good pay also, right? For significant portion of these jobs, companies are ready to offer salaries, upward of 20-25 lakhs, right? Good portion of it, right? 10 to 15 is like the 10 to 20, 15 to 20 is like the median, mid-level experience. All right. And it's really growing, right? And simply, if you talk about the attrition in this sector, right? The overall attrition in the data engineering field is almost around, I think, 20%. That is the industry standard, right? 20-22% is the around 17-18% will always be there. All right. So what skills do you need? You need Python. You need to understand cloud computing. You need to understand SQL. You need to understand Azure. All right. And the tools and the services that we are going to discuss, right? So that is it from my side here, right? If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. What we'll be doing tomorrow is that we'll have our first demo class, right? So tomorrow and day after, we'll be having a demonstration class. All right. So it's free for everybody. Please join in. will be, first day will be covering the basics of Azure. The second day will be covering, let's say Spark or something related to core data engineering, solutions. So please don't forget to join tomorrow and day after also. Now, if you have any questions, please go ahead. One second.
Hi Shresh, can you listen me? Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah, myself Gauri Shankar, and I connected to you from USA. Okay, so
Yeah, hi. Mm.
yeah, hi. So total on the whole, I have got a 16 years of IT experience, and basic skill set is into informatica and cloud services, ISCS. So,
Mhm,
uh, with respect to the recent trends that is happening over in
mhm,
USA, I could sense, sense it's this Microsoft Azure or Azure Data Lake. This is going to
mhm.
revolutionize the complete synopsis of the data, which I feel. So I
Absolutely.
thought,
Mm,
since this is going to be, since something like a turnaround, which the world is looking for. So,
mhm,
since in the first sentence itself you have updated, right? See, when the data is very much raw, it is of no use unless it is
mhm,
curated. And at the
mhm,
same time, when your technical skill sets are needed to be honed up, I think this
mhm.
is the best way to, just to evolve in a best, but much better manner, which I feel so.
Absolutely, yes.
Right. So, since
Mm,
thanks for the presentation. Since it's quite, since since as far as I gone through the synopsis, the
mhm,
content which you are going to share, since if it goes in the normalized manner, I
mhm.
think this will surely boost up many of the people's career as well.
Absolutely. See, as you already mentioned, right, Azure is going to be the, leading, not leading, it's going to be the prominent cloud service provider. All right. We all
Right.
know how Microsoft is integrated in our daily lives. And for other organizations also, right? There's almost 80% of the organizations, right, who have not modernized to the cloud as of now.
Right.
Right? You would have heard about, right,
Right.
modernization, migration, and they're all
Containerization.
doing it now. Yes,
Right.
absolutely. They're all doing
r-
it.
Right.
And
The thing
eventually everything
is,
will come on Azure.
right. Still, since they're just standing up on their own standalone applications. But
Mhm.
now, earlier, since it's used to be license based. Now, everything software has become software as a services. So, in that
Yes.
cases, so this, says when it comes to leveraging on the data, that too on the
Mhm.
legitimate data, you need to have a says hierarchical presentation of the data along with the catalogization and containerization as well. So I think I
Mhm.
feel, based upon my expertise, which I have come of as of now, I feel, says data is, says the richest commodity right now that is available in the market, and how we treat the
Obviously,
data,
yes.
and how we treat the data, how we refine the data, and how we present the data, and how we are going to use the data, that is going to
Mhm.
make the sense.
Absolutely, yes.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
since just when I'm going through some of the job portals over here, I
Mhm.
could see, since wherever you go, since you are having any exposure towards the on-prem services, something like in the sense AWS or Azure. So everywhere when it comes to job description or something like that, since
Mhm.
many companies over here are looking into the cloud services only, and
Mhm.
that too with respect to, since if you have got any exposure towards AWS S3, Redshift, or else they are asking
Mhm.
for the OpenStack AI, and
Mhm.
also into the Azure ADF and ADL.
Yes.
Yeah,
ADLS. Yes.
right. So I
That is
think,
what.
sense, yeah,
Mhm.
coming to my personalization, so I think now I felt that it's time for me to upgrade myself. Having worked with respect to ETL technology for the past 15 years,
Mhm.
says it is going to, says win the bread and butter, but I am not going to conquer.
See, eventually it all comes down to, see, if you understand Azure, right? The day
Right,
you understand Azure,
right,
AWS is not gonna be a difficult thing for you to understand.
right. That's
If you
true.
understand one CSP and you understand it in a proper way, right? You
Right,
just take one CSP. The
right,
services are almost similar. Amazon S3 is nothing but Azure Data Lake.
right.
They're
That's true.
absolutely same. They're absolutely same. It's
See,
all about the nomenclature and the configuration that changes, but the underlying idea of the service remains the same.
right, exactly. See, that is how the market will come into the picture, right? And now, suppose
Hmm,
if you just check across the
hmm,
some means some ETL tools like once upon a time data stage, Informatica, Robinson, these all do the same ETL kind of stuff
hmm.
only. But only the
Yeah,
thing in the sense, the navigation of the tool is
yeah,
different, right?
yeah,
But when it
absolutely.
comes to the content that is associated and
Hmm,
what we need to achieve and how we are going to crack down the business aspects into
hmm, hmm,
technical aspects and trying to present to the client, that is going to make the sense.
yeah,
So in terms
yes.
of dealing with the tool is different, but
Hmm,
the content associated with one and how we are going to refrain ourselves with respect to those things is going to matter over here. And when you compare these things, see, ideally the intention behind the same is going to be the one and the same.
hmm, hmm,
Only one thing in the sense, again, it depends upon the personal perception how you are going to handle your own.
hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, so whatever you said is absolutely correct, right?
Right,
Again,
right.
you would understand with so many years of experience, you would understand the importance of constantly upskilling yourself, right?
Right, right. There.
If you miss the bandwagon, right,
Right.
you're gonna become obsolete.
Absolute,
So
and you will be put in a complete chaotic situation where I mean the decision
mhm,
making will become viable and you will be put up yourself in a stagnant position.
absolutely,
So
yes,
only one thing in the sense, change should be always a changing factor that needs to be
mhm,
like a something like a constant factor.
yeah, yeah, yes,
Yes. Thanks, Reyes. I mean,
yeah,
says.
yeah. Uh,
Yep.
Welcome. So I have a
Thank you.
question. I'm working in production support in Informatica Power Center and having 8 years of experience. How Azure Data Engineering will be helpful for my IT career and what prerequisites I need to know to learn Azure Data Engineering? I never worked on any cloud platform. So I think the second part of that question, I don't know anything about the cloud platform. I already told you. My assumption for this training is going to be that you are absolutely, leave Azure. You don't even know what cloud computing is. That is the level from where we are going to start this session. All right. And to answer the first part of question, right? So you're in a strong position to make this transition, right? Moving into Azure data engineering, it could be really good for your career, right? Especially since you already have 8 years of experience in Informatica, right? Power center and production support. As you know, more companies shift their data infrastructure to the cloud. You all know how Azure has emerged one of the top platforms because of various features, scalability, security, wide range of data services. So by learning Azure data engineering, right, you will be aligning yourself with the current industry trends, and that will open up new opportunities for you in cloud-based data integration, data processing, data analytics services, right? And your ETL background will be very helpful in that, right? So the transition is going to help you a lot, right? The knowledge about cloud computing is going to help you even more. All right, let me assure you that cloud computing, as I said, right, almost 80-85% of the workload still remains, in the on-premises environment, which will be, and I'm guaranteeing you that it will be, moved to the cloud. Nobody wants to manage an on-premise data center in today's world. Everybody wants to utilize the cost effectiveness and the the benefits that you're getting with cloud computing, right? It's more costly to create your own data center and host your services there. It's more costly. I'll show you the comparison also. Let's see the comparison tomorrow of how much you are going to spend if you build your own data center versus how much you're going to spend if you put all those resources on Azure itself. So we'll do a 5-year analysis, right? And you'll see that if you build your own data center, the cost goes into millions, right? Obviously, it's going to be a big enough data center. The cost goes into millions, right? And if you do it on Azure, the cost remains in hundreds of thousands, almost, depending on the obviously the size of the data center, it depends. But then you're going to spend a lot less on cloud, and that is why organizations want to move to the cloud, right? So in today's world, having cloud computing has become like AI. As I told you, right? It's not niche anymore. Everybody should know it. Everybody should understand cloud, right? So that is where it'll come in and will help you a lot. Yeah. Shivam, I see your hand is raised. You want to ask a question?
हेलो।
Yeah. Hi.
हाँ सर, मैं हिंदी में बात कर सकता हूँ? कैन आई स्पीक इन
Huh?
हिंदी?
Uh, it may can we connect one on one, Shivam, for that?
या
Hmm? Once
कैन आई स्पीक इन हिंदी?
yeah, yeah. So once everybody leaves, no, I can connect talk in Hindi, right? Towards the end of the
आफ्टर
session.
क्या?
Will that be fine?
ओके ओके
Because the medium of instruction for this course is going to be English only. So I'll discuss with you towards the end.
ओके सर।
Hmm? Yeah,
Hello.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you cover Microsoft Fabrics also? Yeah, Azure Fabrics.
Yes. See, now again, Fabric is a very new tool, all right? And what they've done with Fabrics is that they're trying to move, data engineering away from Azure. All right, not completely away from Azure, but they're giving a separate license, separate, subscription for Fabrics and all. But then it also depends on the fact that not a lot of people are going for Fabrics. All right, Fabric was, and for me, it is a failed product by Microsoft, right? And they're just trying to create the buzz around it in the recent times. I've been seeing Fabric from a very long time, and it did not gain traction, right? It is being used today. They're trying to, improve it. Obviously, they're working on it and they're trying very hard. And maybe it'll improve, maybe it will become better. But currently, most of the organizations are invested in the tools and the technologies that we saw on the screen, right? They're using ADF, they're using Databricks, they're using Synapse, they're using Data Lake. That is what they're using currently.
Mm.
All right. So the
But they stopped
opportunities,
DB 203 exams and everything, right?
yes, and that is a promotional thing that they did to, gain traction for Fabrics.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah. But not a lot of organizations are using Fabric as of now. And I know that because I work with Microsoft very closely. So I can assure you on that the entire decision of getting rid of DP203 certification, it was,
Mhm.
the reason being that we want people to now move to Fabric. So we need to create a pool of talented resources on Fabric. So how are people going to understand Fabric? By clearing the certifications, right? So they added a certification. So still it is new. Maybe few years later down the line, it will become good, and organizations will shift to it. But as of now, organizations have their workloads on core Azure based technologies only.
But I see in some JD they are asking Microsoft Fabric also.
That see some basic understanding of what Fabric is all about, and in Databricks we'll cover Fabric. All right, I'll sorry, data factory will cover
Okay,
Fabrics.
different.
I'll show you how you can create a Azure data factory resource within Fabric also. So
Okay.
we'll cover a bit of it, but it's not going to be a primary focus in this course.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Azure
Okay.
Data Factory.
Tomorrow
Yeah.
and day after tomorrow, we need to use the same link to join the class, or you will give the
Yes.
separate
Yes.
link?
Yes. Please use the same link.
Okay, so yeah, thank you.
Azure Data Factory, Databricks, and data engineering are all same, or I need to learn anything? See, Data Factory is a resource, right? Databricks is again a resource. Data engineering is the the service, the technology under which we cover Data Factory and Databricks. All right. So when you do Data Factory, when you do Databricks, you will be doing data engineering only. So that was the question in the chat window.
Okay.
Yeah, I see it. Somebody has posted in the Q&A section also. All right, the same question. All right. So we'll be having session tomorrow also, day after tomorrow also. We'll be taking your questions there also. If you don't have questions today, you can go ahead and ask it tomorrow and day after also. But please do not forget to join the demo session tomorrow and day after. All right, you'll really like it. Yeah,
Vishwa,
Vishwa.
do you have any question?
Hi, hi, Shreyas.
Yeah, hi.
For example, we are using like a 30 days trial, correct? You said
Mm-hmm.
Azure, we can migrate, once we have done like all the practice, we can use this one another account. Shall we use like the same testing or
Yes. Yeah. You can create a number of accounts. Just the email ID changes.
that is Yeah, that is fine. Email ID only change, correct? Same,
Yes, yes.
already we have used testing, correct? For that, all the classes that we can see, we can that will be vanish
No, no, the
after.
previous account will no longer be valid.
Yes, yes, that only I'm asking.
Yeah.
Previous account will no longer be valid,
Yes,
correct?
it'll no longer be valid.
Okay, okay, sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Shivam, if we're done, I think
1 minute, Shreyas. The next
Hmm.
session tomorrow, the same timing we have.
yes, the same timing.
So the class
It's
is also the same timing only, evening 8 to 9 p.m. IST.
yeah.
सर कंटिन्यू करो.
Just a second, Shivam.
ओके.
Yeah, Shivam, go ahead.
Hello?
हाँ.
Yeah, Nelson.
Yes, sir.
Just a second, Shivam.
Hello?
Yeah, hi, Nelson.
Yes, sir. Chindra gave me sent forwarded this link to me.
Mhm.
I wanted to find out.
Yeah.
So tomorrow's class is sorry, not class. Tomorrow's presentation is I live in the US, so this tomorrow is going to be the same time.
Yes, same time.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So we'll get more details after that.
Yeah, the backend team will send more details to you about the session.
Perfect. Okay.
Mm.
All right. Thank you. Who am I speaking with?
Shreyas.
Shares. Okay. Thanks, Shares.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks. Rohit,
Hey, hi Suresh. Am I audible?
yeah, yes.
Yes, I just want to ask, you are having one another course for Databricks, dedicated
Right.
to Databricks, right?
Yes.
So, what is the difference in learning that whole course and learning that Databricks in Azure Data Engineering course itself?
See, for example, if I have to do just data factory, right? Let's just take example of data factory. We can have a 40-hour long course dedicated to data factory only, all right, or dedicated to Synapse, right? But we want to cover each and every technology. We want to understand the important concepts from each and every technology. So that is how it is, made, all right? So Databricks in the data engineering course will focus more on the core capabilities, all right? When we go to the dedicated Databricks session, that is where we start and end with Databricks, and we go into the depths, of everything related only to Databricks. All right. So a topic that we may cover here, for example, integration and all, because for data engineers, it's already, you understand various tools. You've already seen Synapse, you've seen Databricks, Data Factory, and all right. There, we need to start with these things also. We need to show them the integration also, and we just spend more time on different types of transformations and then other services also. All right. It's just like a more dedicated session where we go topic by topic into the depths of it.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Yeah, Shivam, go ahead.
या किस राज्य से?
Mm-hmm.
आपका मतलब लोकेशन महाराष्ट्र से ही है या?
नहीं, I'm not from Maharashtra.
ओके सर. कोई नहीं, मुझे लोकेशन
Shivam,
जानना था. Yes.
Shivam, can you call us directly so we can talk
Mhm.
to?
किससे? सर, सुरेश सर से.
Yeah.
Yes.
मतलब अभी या क्लास खत्म होने के बाद?
Yeah.
Right,
आप
myself.
नंबर सेंड कर सकते हैं क्या?
Yeah. We've shared the WhatsApp number, no? Just text on that.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone else,
Yeah.
for joining in. We
So
have the class
tomorrow
again
also,
at 8 p.m. tomorrow. Yes, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the
Nikhil,
same
right.
meeting link.
Yes. Use the same
But
meeting
how?
link at the same time.
But I have a question. So I'm sorry.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
Chandra is the one that forwarded this link to me. I'm going to use this link tomorrow. But
Mhm.
how do I reach further communications? Is it still going to be through Chandra?
You have.
Communication,
Yeah, Nitya, go ahead.
sorry.
Like
So
let's say
communication for,
so let me let me so I took the course I think 2 years ago, about a year ago, I took the course with Chandra for Informatica data integration.
yeah.
And I've been working with that in my current job, and it's been very, very, very helpful. So what I'm trying to do now is also diversify, because I find my interest in data. So that's why I'm really interested in this course. So I think the path I'm trying to take is, if I intend to take the course, payments and all that, who do I communicate with?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait.
yes, Nelson, you can contact us. So we will give all the communications. So if you want to connect with a trainer, so he is the trainer for this Azure data engineering.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll share the details with you, Nelson.
Yeah, I
You'd find
already
our WhatsApp
shared.
number also.
Yes.
Yes.
The same way we have the session always, like how you did data integration. So the same way
Mhm.
we have a session.
Got
So
it.
each day you
Okay.
will get it. The
Okay.
link, everything will be updated in the WhatsApp group, all those things. The
Okay.
same
So
trend.
everything
This,
is through
yeah.
NICIT. Okay. Academy. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Yeah. Thank you all. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Please do join
Please
tomorrow.
send me number, sir.
Yeah, the same WhatsApp number, Shivam.
और किसका मतलब आपका नंबर नहीं है ना उस ग्रुप में?
There is the same WhatsApp. You contact us on WhatsApp. I'll connect with you.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, Shreyas,
Thank you.
we'll
Yeah.
wind up the session. Yeah.
All right.
So
Thank you
tomorrow
all.
also we'll join the same session.
Yeah.
Same link. Yeah. Bye.
Sure. Thank you all.
Thanks, Shreyash.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Thanks, Tej.